I don't fly to Kentucky often.
But when I do, I prefer Woodford Reserve in a plastic cup. Great. It's a great bourbon.
Traveling from the great state of Arizona, the great state of Ohio, and a few of us are also traveling from New Jersey. It is time to meet up with the Bungknockers, and it is time to get our bourbon on.
I thought I'd open it now.
Yeah, the next right.
So you genuinely don't know what's in here?
I think I know what's in here because it's from the Brown-Forman Corporation.
Okay.
Not quite big enough for a human head.
Trivia, Brown-Forman
Not a full-grown human.
owns which brand?
Brown-Forman owns...
Brown-Forman owns which brands that we know and love?
Old Forester.
Old Forester is correct. Next.
Oh, there's more than Old Forester.
Older Forester?
Oldest.
And maybe you could set us up for success and be like, as you know, Brown Forester owns, and then just rattle them off.
I have to challenge you. Woodford Reserve.
Okay.
Well, the Bungknockers have arrived safely in the land of flowing, gorgeous golden brown liquid. Episode 1. I'm nervous and quite thirsty.
We're meeting Elizabeth McCall, master distiller here at Woodford. We are exploring America through our unique art forms. Bourbon is really the tie that binds, because God knows if we tried to tie it through Phantom of the Opera, we'd have an audience of 5 people. Quite frankly, I knew nothing about it. This is a very recent hobby / obsession, really for all 4 of us. Because March 12, 2020, I got married at New York City Hall. It was my 42nd birthday, and Broadway shut down due to COVID. So I was at home and out of work. Started picking up bourbons and drinking bourbons and going, wow, this is really interesting. And then learning the history and not even knowing that it's our native spirit. It's not bourbon unless it comes from America.
USA. Everyone has a strong thirst for bourbon these days, which we're really excited about. And it's just something, when I started in the industry 15 years ago, I never thought it would be where it is today, you know, and just the genuine interest. And that's how I got started, was just genuine interest along with everybody else. They're like, oh, did you enter this thinking you were going to be master distiller one day? I'm like, absolutely not. And I realized that bourbon was pretty cool. And so I grew up with it just like everybody else.
I guess if you're a master distiller, you are a chemical engineer background?
I wish I was.
You are not.
Cool. Maybe if I wanted to study that hard, I could go back, but I'm a psychology major. And I have my master's in counseling psychology, so fooled all of you. But yeah, but the way I got into it, though, it actually makes a lot of sense. With psychology, you're looking at human response to things. And so sensory is all about how do you respond to liquid? How does a human respond to that? And so I leveraged that to go into quality control taste testing. The beauty of bourbon is we're looking at it and you're like, well, do people like it or not? And that's really what matters most.
Where are you taking it? Are we going to come out alive?
Yes.
We are. Okay, I hope so.
We're going to go into the distillery.
Right.
We're going to check out, kind of see the whiskey making process. So we're going to walk through that.
Uh-huh.
So the distillery itself is very old. This property has awesome history. So distilling started on this site in 1812, but they've settled here because of all the springs. So there's a creek in the backside of the distillery, and it's called the Grassy Springs Branch of Glens Creek. It has no iron in it, so that's really critical because iron can give you off notes in your whiskey, discoloration, different things. That water is crucial to whiskey making. That's also why pursers are big in this area. Now, like we have 2 Triple Crown winners that are our next door neighbors, Justify and American Barrow. Feel very proud that we're where we are in proximity to them and being the presenting sponsor of the Kentucky Derby.
Kentucky Derby. presented by Woodford Reserve.
That's why this place. And then Brown-Forman actually purchased it in the 1940s. And we distilled here, we had a column still, made whiskey, and then we eventually closed down operations here in the 1950s. And eventually in the 1970s, we sold it to a farmer, and we were like, oh, we're done. We're done with that part of the world. And then in the early 90s, Owsley Brown II had the brilliant idea. We should open a visitor experience. But he wanted not just to be a place of one brand, but innovative whiskey and celebrate bourbon heritage in Kentucky. Kind of what you're talking about. This is Kentucky's signature spirit, signature industry, and then also something very American. And so we came back, go find a really cool historic distillery. Came back here, repurchased what we already owned, and then brought it back to life. He would be so proud to see what this place is and just all the people here. That was 1996. And then by 1999, so many people in the industry were excited with the visitor experience we had started that we saw other people opening up their visitor experiences. Wow. And then they started the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in 1999. So thank you, Woodford Reserve, for kind of kickstarting this excitement and interest in the industry.
It's amazing to talk. You're talking about like the 90s. I was like in college. Like, I mean, I'm now your new employee. I keep trying to get a job, another job.
You know, I mean, we're always looking.
We're always looking, right?
I just want to move to Kentucky.
I might have to. But that's not that long ago.
No.
Like bourbon was just at a low, and to put an investment like that in this place was like huge risk. Huge
risk. I mean, they were banking on, we're not going to make money on this for the first 20 years. We did start making money, and now it's the home of Woodford Reserve.
So where are we now?
We've come up to this beautiful floor. It smells amazing. It's kind of like banana nut bread and just doughy and delicious and yummy. So this is our fermentation floor. So this is where alcohol is made. So alcohol is a natural process. We have to rely on yeast to convert sugars into alcohol.
I mean, the sunlight hitting this is creating the most amazing visual.
I want you to take your finger and taste this.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious right now. Ready?
I've always wanted to do this.
Because it looks like you think it's going to be really hot, and it's actually like a nice 70 degrees.
Sure is.
It's sweet, fruity, like peach and some apple character.
Did you say apple?
Apple.
Yeah. So much, like when you think of the end product, this is a very pleasant. For where it's going.
So it's very soft, very easy. It's kind of like having your morning oatmeal or something like that. So those banana notes and peach and orchard fruit, that's all coming from the yeast itself. So this is our proprietary yeast strain. Nobody else has our Woodford Reserve yeast strain. It belongs to us. It's one that we've mutated off of another yeast strain we had and created just for us.
So it's a trademarked thing, exclusive?
We haven't trademarked it, but it is ours.
Proprietary,
It's proprietary.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
Which directions do the trucks come when they bring the yeast?
We grow it in-house, like a sourdough
it's all
starter.
here.
Yeah, like a sourdough starter.
Yeah.
Yum.
Did the people who came through on the tour also stick their fingers in this?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Just you.
Just curious.
Just
Graham,
you.
You're special.
I know.
Let's move on. Yeah, good.
We triple pot distill our whiskey. So we take what was fermented and then we essentially pump it into that beer still, and then you start distilling it. You want to run it as close to 212 degrees as possible because that's where water vaporizes. Alcohol vaporizes at 173 degrees. So you always want to keep it right in between there. And then we're running it hot, so we're capturing all that alcohol, but it has all the good and the bad flavor notes in it. So it's not ready to drink yet. So then we take that distillate, capture it in a tank, and then once that's done running, we fill the second still. So this is where we can start to make cuts. We will have those light notes, we want those. And then the heart of the runner is some of those good fruit notes and spice notes from the rye. And then the tail end is kind of your heavy boilers, unfavorable flavor notes. cut them off, and send them back to be redistilled. Here at the Woodford Reserve Distillery, we are triple pot distilling our whiskey.
Triple pot distilling. So all of the clear liquid coming through is a result of the third, after the third distillation.
Yep.
And every ounce of Woodford flows through that.
It does. Everything that we make here. We have another portion that we'll make at our Brown-Forman distillery in Louisville on a column still.
And you're a combo platter of pot still and column still.
Yep.
Awesome.
That is the magic of Woodford
That's the magic
Reserve.
of Woodford. You guys highlight the notion that you have more tasting notes.
Oh yeah.
Than
215.
But you don't expect your everyday drinker to extract, obviously, anywhere near that.
I'm not even going to sit down on any day and go through all 215 flavors.
Describe that to me,
That's
because
just a lot of work. But we had to we had to do it. We had to prove the 215. And then think of vanilla. I think there's in the world maybe 150 plus different types of vanilla. So you kind of, when you start to think about it like that, it's a lot. Vanilla, vanilla bean, Madagascar vanilla.
Vanilla ice.
Ice Ice Baby.
But the idea is that there is something in that
There's
vast
something
profile,
in it for
profile
everyone.
for everybody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's what makes Woodford so wonderful. People tell us all the time, like, well, when I go to a bar or restaurant, I want that weird pour. Like, what do you have that I can't get anywhere else?
Right.
So that's the first ask. Then they're like, oh, well, I'm sorry, we don't have that. Okay, I'll just take Woodford. Because they know it's going to be good every single time. And there's something in it for everyone. Everyone can enjoy a glass of Woodford.
Amazing.
Now here's a question weirdly in sort of dovetailing with that, is that one thing I always stress about is whether I'm using too good a bourbon when I make a mixed drink. And now, of course, versatility, but when I hear that it's got 215 notes, I'm probably wrongly cautious about using it in, because I'd be burying some of those notes.
You can actually enhance them. So you do cocktails and you enhance them. I mean, the most basic one, we call it the Woodford Spire. We do it for Derby time. And it's Woodford Reserve Bourbon, lemonade, and cranberry juice.
I don't want to be rude.
You don't want to be
to the
rude.
product.
If you want to taste your spirit, you want it to be something you actually want to enjoy. So it's really important. I mean, when you bake, you want good ingredients. Same thing in a cocktail.
Amazing. All right, off we go.
So innovation, I jokingly say it's easy because you get to make something one time. I don't have to repeat it. And if it's a total flop, then we tried something new and that was cool.
We have a lot in common.
but creating
The show closes and you move on to the
you
next.
move on. And You're like, well, how was it?
That's right.
And we get praise and we get vicious feedback. People are like, that was terrible and I never want to drink it. I'm like, okay, it wasn't for you.
Right.
And we tried something new and weird. And I'm sorry you didn't enjoy that.
Right.
The consistency, though, is really, I'm a quality nerd, and so I love thinking about how we are always managing for our quality. So I always am like, what are we doing to improve that? How is our, looking at data points, which is really boring, but it's also, I find it very fascinating because I want to understand this brand is loved all over the world because of the way it tastes, and we don't want to change that.
Right.
Yeah.
So to that end, you don't list an age statement,
No.
right? So when it's ready, it's ready.
Yes, because
right?
we put batches together to meet that flavor profile, not to
Right.
meet, oh, okay, well, it hit this age, then put it in a bottle. We're always tasting our batches. So we taste it at new make, we taste it while it's maturing, we taste it when we first put the batch together, and then we taste it before we put it into the bottle. And we have a standard. So I set the gold standard to say this is what Woodford should taste like.
Right.
And then they compare every batch to that gold standard, so we're not seeing it drift. Because what you can see, if you don't have a standard, then, well, this batch tastes good, but all of a sudden you'll taste, 3 months later, and you're like, well, crap, would taste totally different than where we started. So you have to always have that reference point to make sure you're not deviating too much.
You bet.
But with a natural product, there's room for batch variability, so we always see a little difference here and there.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's an art form.
Sure is an art
We're gonna head into the warehouse. This is our historic warehouse.
Ooh.
And Just take a good deep breath as soon as you step in, because it smells amazing in here.
So this is your oldest brick house?
This is from the 1800s. It's a stone building. If you notice, the walls are very thick when you walk in, and that's because this is a patent warehouse. It means it's meant to be heat cycled. Maturation drives from heat. So in the summertime, if you have like an ironclad, so just a thin iron walls, it's going to heat up really drastically, and then in the wintertime it'll cool down. And with these walls, it still gets very hot here in the summer, but that heat during the summertime drives the whiskey out into the barrel, and then as it cools down, it pulls back out. And when it pulls out 100% of its color. A headspace is being created. So the barrel, you'll lose in the first year around 10%, and then every year after that, you're losing around 1%. It's predominantly water that you're losing. That happens in the summer. Well, what we do in the winter months, when it gets cold, we will turn on heat. We've got steam pipes running through the floor. Turn on the heat, and then it will heat up the warehouse to summer-like temperatures. We're looking for internal barrel temperature of around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll hold it there for about a week, and that drives maturation throughout the winter. So we're getting more age. So going back to why don't we use an age statement? Well, 1 year in our warehouse is not the equivalent of 1 year in another warehouse.
Sure.
We are driving maturation through the winter when normally whiskey would sit dormant.
And this is pretty high.
Well, it goes 4 stories up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
3 per floor.
Yeah, so there's 3 ricks per floor. And
But is it the younger stuff that sits up top?
well, ages, we mix it all up. So we don't rotate barrels.
Okay.
And because in the wintertime, heat's driving from the floor. So they're getting the brunt of the heat in the winter months. So then it kind of just evens out when you've got a heat cycled warehouse.
When you say, so this building is how old?
In the 1800s.
And from what little I've heard of heat cycling, I always thought that was a modern concept. But are you saying that this is...
No, this is old.
Old as time.
Yeah, I mean, this has been around for a long time, and it's the way that it was the tradition. I mean, you drive around, you see a lot of, especially in the city, if you go into Louisville, a lot of brick warehouses, and that's how they all were intended to be used. And so if you're not using them that way, it can get, if you think you go into your basement and it's a little dank
funky,
and funky and whatever. So for us, it's really important you walk into the warehouse and you smell that beautiful kind of just oaky, wonderful whiskey aroma, because I haven't done all the research on this, but I would bet wood is very permeable. So if the air is not good around it, how's that going to impact your whiskey? So you always want to make sure that it smells really good in your warehouse.
Well, it smells really good in here.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
So I'd
We
be
love
remiss
it.
if I didn't ask about the
What
2
are
red
these
barrels.
two? We have a very special derby coming up. It's going to be the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. And as the presenting sponsors, we do a fun mint julep every year, the $1,000 mint julep program. And as part of this program and in part of celebrating the Derby 150, we've put together very special liquid. And so this liquid has now been in its 3rd barrel. It started out as regular Woodford Reserve Bourbon, aged in a new charred oak barrel. Then it went into a cognac barrel, and now it's resting in these barrels, which are double oaked barrels. But what's wonderful about this wood is that we seasoned it out at Churchill Downs in the Derby Day Winner's Circle. So it's only used on Derby Day to drape the garland of roses across the Derby winner's withers. So we seasoned the wood out there, which means we just let it sit and kind of take in the microflora of Churchill Downs. And then we sent it to our cooperage. The beauty of having your own cooperage, we build all of our own barrels. We made double oaked barrels, so a heavy toast, light char. So it's really going to bring out those sweet aromatic notes. And there's 3 barrels involved with that liquid. Close, like the Triple Crown. So 3
That's
is
so
a
cool.
kind of lucky number, in the horse world. So
Double oak, is that, we've heard about toasting and then charring. Is that the definition of a double oak?
So double oaked is our product. It's a Woodford Reserve product. So we came up with that double oaked, and it is a toasted bourbon. It's a finished bourbon. So it starts out as regular Woodford Reserve Distiller Select, and then we put it into the second barrel that's heavily toasted, lightly charred. So we've been doing toasting since the 90s. I mean, having your own cooperage, we really started playing around with that because toasting is something that predominantly is utilized in wine making. So when you have a really buttery Chardonnay, they have a heavily toasted wine barrel. And we took that thinking and applied it to a bourbon barrel. Said, what would happen?
The double oaked is my favorite. And on top of that, Graham, I'm gonna blow your mind.
Yeah.
They have, I hope you still have, the double oaked.
Oh, yes.
Which is, I think.
It sells out every year. It comes out and then it goes away.
Do I get the job, Elizabeth?
You're very good.
Do I get the job?
Sure.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. We can do it off
We can talk
camera.
about like what the job is.
Touche. Fair enough.
You know your Woodford well.
I like
but
my
yeah,
Woodford.
the double is something that we release kind of end of January, early February every year, and it's part of that distillery series, kind of our way of flexing our creative muscle in a small scale.
I've noticed because there are we're enthusiasts, drinkers, collectors, bourbon hunters, if you will, in today's age where people are just going wild, standing in lines and going nuts. I see that you're very faithful here to the locals and to the people who make the pilgrimage to Woodford with distillery only releases, and I think that's terrific.
Yeah, that was sort of the thought behind it. We wanted a way to celebrate people and thank them for making the trek here to visit us at Woodford Reserve. And so how did we do that? We were like, we'll do the distillery series. But of course, then people are like, why can't we get it in California or in Indiana? I mean, right next door, Ohio, you can't get it there. And it's because it's something special just for visiting us here.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. And we want people to get off their couches and come
visit us.
That's right.
Come see us.
You bet. It's great here.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Are you all ready to go and taste?
Are you kidding?
All right.
Get out of the way. Get out of the way.
You all hand this. Someone will need to hand this to her
Oh, yeah.
to plug
hammer?
up the barrel,
Oh, yes.
and someone will need to grab the liquid.
Who wants to be the liquid catcher?
I shall do this.
Okay, let's do.
Oh, this is so cool.
What's going to be a good one for us to drill into?
Well, there's.
Well, Graham, I don't get an opinion
I
on
just wonder
this.
why
Elizabeth
the
is
signatures
pondering.
There's
Yes,
Bill Murray.
I know.
That's Bill Murray there?
Should we drill into Bill Murray's barrel?
Let's do it.
Okay.
We are.
See,
We
that's
need that
Bill
on.
We are drilling into Bill Murray's barrel.
Well, he signed it. I mean,
Where is
was
the
here.
Where is the signature?
Bill Murray.
Wow.
Yep, he came out and had a fun time
I'm a huge
visiting.
fan.
Me too.
Indeed.
So it was really fun having him here. So we'll give this one a little taste.
All right.
So, all right, so I'm going to drill in.
Okay.
I need you to catch this.
Yes.
There's a chance that you could get showered with bourbon.
It's my dream.
That's all right. I'm nervous, but I'm ready.
Okay.
We got this.
Oh my God. Go.
Without spilling
Go.
filter. Oh
Go.
my God. Oh my God.
Will Mitch live his dream and be showered with bourbon? What will that barrel taste like? Will Brandon ever speak? Stay tuned for Woodford Reserve Part 2. Please click that like and subscribe button and smash that notification bell as the journey continues.